Welcome to day 30 and 30 days of PM series, where we talk about topics around product management and how to get things done as a product manager and what typically a PM job or a job in the product management space looks like. So today we are looking at one of our very prominent and well recognized frameworks in the PM space in terms of prioritizing tasks, and that's called the RISE framework. And it's one of the fundamental frameworks that PMs and essentially organizations use to prioritize what needs to be picked up and what needs to be done, right? So, as an organization building products, when you have multiple requests to cater to, right, you have a limited amount of items that an engineering team can take depending on the size. If it's a large, if there are multiple pods and multiple teams that can take up multiple tasks simultaneously and work parallelly, you probably can accommodate a lot more features within a single sprint. But if you have, for example, a limited amount of resources when it comes to engineering and development, how do you now as PMs prioritize what feature do I prioritize first for my engineering team to take up, and which do I pull out of my list, right? So RISE is a sort of a framework for that. It generally is utilized within organizations with their own twists and metrics of sort of looking at things, right? So that's how RISE framework came about. It essentially helps PMs to organize and make decisions of what needs to go first, and build a list of items that need to be taken care of, right, in order to build. Why do you need, as the blog talks about, why do you need prioritization to begin with? Essentially, when, as I have already mentioned, right, you have ideas, you have a lot of commitments to make to customers, where you have, let's take a scenario, if you have committed multiple things to multiple customers, but you can only solve only one of those requests at a time, right? You couldn't, because if you select one over the other, your engineering resources are already full at that point of time. So how do you, here you, one way you could do is, I mean, take things parallelly, build half of one and half of the other, but that isn't, that depends on the sort of thing, the feature or you're building. If it's something from scratch, it will probably take even longer to build and probably take the entire engineering team's bandwidth, right? So in those sort of situations, it becomes very hard what to prioritize. A lot of the times these are, uh, I mean, as basic principles, if you don't even have a framework like RISE in place, ideally what you would do is probably have some sort of metric to gauge by. If you have, for example, something that is under a contract that needs to be delivered before a specific date, you probably will need to prioritize that, even though the RISE framework is in place. But RISE framework can also become a way for you to populate those things at the top which needs your attention through this framework, right? So what it does is it essentially divides your prioritization into four parts, right, or four sort of key areas that need to be scored and tallied up, which eventually will provide you, for example, a prioritization score or a RISE score, which you can then sort by the score, higher being to the top, and then pick the ones that are at top of the list and go from there, right? So RISE essentially takes a few things into concept. So here is an example, right? So you took, like, take a look at reach, you take a look at impact of a specific feature, the confidence that your team has, and divide all of that by the amount of effort. Eventually, if nothing goes out from engineering to the public or the users, uh, it really isn't developed or finished development, right? So effort probably takes up a lot of space, and it's also in a lot of ways a determining factor on what gets built. So ideally you would want to manage expectations that way, where your reach times impact times confidence divided by effort is your eventual RISE score, which you can these can be broad metrics, right? Your reach can be 0 to 10, or it could be even larger. Reach essentially is how many customers or people have actually asked for a request, right? And so for example, to avoid bias, you blah blah blah, reach is measured in numbers or number of events per time period. This might be customers per quarter, right? So how many customers have actually requested for this feature, and if there are multiple, the reach count will be higher. The reach count being higher also brings the risk score to be higher, and eventually populates the story or enhancement towards the top of the list, right? So this is how you do a rise framework is a simple calculation sort of framework metric which you can use to manage things accordingly, right? So if I have higher number of customers requesting this, my reach is already high. So if I deliver this, it probably is a value add for multiple customers, right? And then I can look at impact. Impact can be in categories. The impact can be high, medium, low, or none, right? In some cases it's just a small fix where you wouldn't really even accommodate it in within your rise framework. You would probably just assign it as a task for a simple change. Could be as simple as making a text change, a tooltip, or an image or logo update, right? So things like that. Whereas impact, right, choosing impact of may sound, it may sound unscientific, yeah, but is the other way to look at not looking at impact is probably just your expectation of how many customers might be impacted in terms of the value delivered through an enhancement, right? So for each customer you will see the impact score is high. So if more number of customers probably see a value, lot of value in it, and how many customers will be impacted based on similar request towards what you're building and things like that, your impact score also gets higher. The next thing is confidence. Confidence is more on the side of how much confidence do you have in the solution that you're pitching for, and what are the factors essentially, right? So here it is a percentage. It is used as a multiple choice to help avoiding decision paralysis. So 100% is high confidence, medium is 80%, and something like 50% is you don't really have a lot of confidence. Anything below the total moonshot, how much support do you really have, right? So examples of when you how to look at confidence, right? We have quantitative metrics to reach user engagement, for impact, and engineering estimate for effort, right? So for example, probably delivering this feature, you know that this metric will move and will increase. So you probably have 100% confidence in your ability and the features and the enhancements ability to provide uh, the resolution to customers problem, and it's essentially enhance their experience within the platform, right? So these are areas on how you can define and pick yourself on a specific feature on the amount of confidence it you have within the delivery or the feature in itself, and then score accordingly, which will eventually be divided by the amount of effort required for the whole thing to be delivered, right? So if for example the reach is high, the impact is high, and you also have high confidence, the effort probably can should ideally be lower for you to even to be able to make sure that it is towards the top of the list, and your feature gets delivered towards the early phase of development. So when you divide the whole thing by the effort required is the amount of time required to actually deliver this, right? A lot of the times some things are more impactful and more have more reach and require less effort. In that case you probably want to prioritize that. So it helps with the rise framework. Such features and such enhancements will always bubble towards the top, and that gives you an opportunity to just automatically based on the score pick items, and for engineering to pick items based on the score itself. So that's how rise in a sense helps you. It's a framework for you to use in order to prioritize. There are no really guidelines as to reach has to be between 0 to 10, or impact has to be over 15 customers or 15 users, and the confidence should always be above 50%. You Every organization has their own way of using the rise framework. A lot of the times you involve multiple stakeholders in order to understand reach and impact, because it directly relates to customers, and probably customer success is your way, or you would want to own specific metrics, right? You would, as PMs and as engineering, you would want to own the confidence metrics and assign confidence ratings, whereas engineering would own the effort side of things, right, and define the effort scoring metric, right, whereas reach and impact could be a combination between product, customers, customer success, and sales and business goals as well, right. So that gives you uh, a way for multiple teams to collaborate on a specific feature, and essentially the decisions are representation of the score that had got generated from the metrics provided. So this is how you can use RISE frameworks in order to prioritize. It's one of the easiest and simplest frameworks to get started with. You also have multiple other frameworks like reach. You have other terminologies that you can use and play around on how to prioritize features better. And for example, reach is one of the other frameworks that gets talked about within the industry and within the product management space. But to begin with, if you have multiple stories and multiple enhancements to deliver, and you are trying to figure out which do I pick and why do I pick one over the other and how do I justify, probably using something like RISE gives you a very good way to get started and evolve your processes from there as a product team. But yeah, that's been about RISE framework. You have other resources here where it talks about how risk scoring is important for your prioritization, right? So here you can see reach times impact times confidence divided by effort is equal to the RISE score, right? And it will involve the functionalities, the ideas, the project. It can be for a lot of these things, right? Reach, how many people will be affected, right? And impact, how much will it impact the customer, right? Is there a lot of impact, it's game changing or something new that you are trying to introduce? Confidence on the other hand, right? How confidence are we about the previous two scores? How confident are you about the feature in essence, right? So you can give this a score between 0 to 100 or 1 to 10 and things like that. Whereas effort is how difficult and how much time would it required for you to build this feature and go from there. So that's about reach in essence. And you can also look at this resource which I'll link here. But yeah, that's about the RISE framework, and it helps you assess your priorities and where to place them on a list of items, right? So you can go through this. Another great resources I have found recently is this video.
Think about that, write out the OKRs, and post it on your socials. Anything to add on that, Tame, in terms of how to post that to socials? What are
So yeah, this is another video where they talk about a feature and how they plan their product roadmap and define OKRs to then prioritize what features needs to get delivered, right? So if you look here, they have sequenced and mapped their product features that they want to deliver, and now you see there is a lot of urgency here and the impact is also high. So probably you would want to start somewhere here, and you'd see some things to the top right are probably are of high impact and are also urgent, which is enhancing existing functionality. So to enhance existing functionality, the amount of effort required will be lesser when you look at it, because things have already been done and are in place. All you have to do is make incremental updates to make it better from where it is today. And whereas these other features can then probably, by the time this gets delivered, you can work on these and work with engineering to define the right RISE score and take it from there. So yeah, that's essentially it about RISE scoring and how you can prioritize your features and deliverables for customers using this framework. So see you tomorrow in another video, and where we'll talk about another topic related to product management and go from there. Till then, have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.